And as we bounce back live on Cheddar, everyone, I'm Baker Machado in New York, and MindMed is making its market debut, launching for trading over at the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol MNMD. There you see a look at their shares right now of the psychedelic medicine biotech company. And joining us now is J.R. Rahn, the co-founder and CEO of MindMed. J.R., congratulations on the first day of trading. How does it feel?
Feels great. It feels like we were growing up a bit.
I can imagine it. So explain to our viewers maybe who are hearing about MindMed for the very first time exactly what you guys are offering here.
Well, we are offering a new paradigm in mental health. For many, many years, solutions in the mental health space just really haven't been really moving the needle and solving mental health for folks. And so what MindMed is doing is reimagining and re-engineering how we are approaching mental health. But we're doing it through substances like LSD, MDMA, psilocybin. These are psychedelics that from the 1960s were really demonized by society, but we see great promise in what we call psychedelic-assisted therapy. So actually using these as catalysts to have breakthrough therapy sessions and ultimately integration therapy after the original experience.
Absolutely. No, listen, you have got a good market out there. I know a lot of people this has helped. My husband is one of them in particular. You have actually called this move a significant milestone in your company's growth, going public now at the NASDAQ. What happens now for you guys?
Well, I think this is just really early innings for the entire industry and for our company. We became the first publicly listed psychedelics company only a year ago. Now we're on NASDAQ, and I think that this is going to have an influx of capital and investors that ultimately are going to allocate the capital that is necessary to turn these into transformative treatments, both in America for the 40% of Americans that are suffering a mental illness or addiction at the moment, and globally. It was funny, I was with one of our early investors a couple months ago, and he said to me that he was previously on the phone with a sovereign wealth manager from the Middle East who was interested in investing in psychedelics, but couldn't really understand how he was going to do that until we were on the NASDAQ. Well, now we're on the NASDAQ, and I think that is it's a very momentous event for the entire industry as we move forward here.
JR, we've seen a lot of cities in particular and local organizations, local governments decriminalize the use of psychedelics, Denver, my hometown, being one of them. Sure. What potential do you see down the road for psychedelic medicines as more kind of cities and potentially states start to decriminalize this product?
Well, I think it's definitely a reaction and destigmatization of psychedelics. When I first started pitching this to venture capitalists in Silicon Valley, we got very, very little traction. And just mainly because of the letters LSD and the stigma associated with them. As we move forward, I think that these legalization and efforts that are underway and decriminalization efforts are really a voice of the people that they want innovative solutions to mental health. In America, there really is one way to get a medicine approved at the national level, and that's through the FDA. It's historically always been how you get a medicine approved. And so companies like MindMed and others that are really focusing on mental health and not on a recreational market, because we don't really see a potential for the recreational market. What we see a potential for is building a new mental health care system using psychedelic-assisted therapies.
I'm curious, JR, you mentioned when you were going to VCs and looking for funding, and you said it was really difficult to get it. How did you sort of convince VCs to do this? What's sort of been the pitch over time that you've been able to convince people about this?
Well, the VCs really missed the boat on this. I come from out of the Y Combinator program in Silicon Valley. I struggled with addiction and mental health while I was an entrepreneur in Silicon Valley and an employee at tech companies. The venture capitalists really didn't get involved in this space. There was really only one, who was Peter Thiel, a bit of a contrarian investor. He's invested in some of our competitors, but where we found capital was actually in Canada. in Toronto. We found some very patient capital in there, and we worked with investment banks to become a public company. But I think now this is where the hedge funds, the institutions, and the retail investors are seeing the opportunity. And it's probably one of the few cases where venture capitalists didn't get in first.
Do you feel like the legalization of marijuana and the growing acceptance that we've seen of cannabis culture helps with the psychedelic culture as well as more, as you mentioned, it sort of demystifies the product down the road?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the cannabis industry is vastly different than what we're trying to achieve here in the psychedelic medicine industry. There was a lot of mistakes made in cannabis. We're still not federally legal in the United States. Our objective is to make these medicines accessible in all 50 states all at the same time, and do that in a scalable manner, because 40% of the country needs these medicines. So I think we are, as a company, going to stay away from the legalization efforts and really just focus on the FDA pathway, because that is how medicines ultimately get approved in the United States.
Very smart. J.R. Rohn is the co-founder and CEO of MindMed. Congratulations on the first day of trading, J.R. Thanks so much for joining us here on Cheddar News.